Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting, Kettering City Council. Today's date is July the 27th, and always will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin tonight's business, we'll pause for a brief invocation. Dear Lord, thank you for all who serve the Kettering community. Give us enthusiasm for our work and wisdom to make the right decisions. May we remain humble and grateful for the opportunity to lead. Guide this council so we may continue to serve our citizens with integrity and purpose, always remembering to be worthy of these responsibilities entrusted in us by our residents. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes, the May 25th, 2021 workshop minutes amendment, and the July 13th, 2021 council meeting and workshop minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, that's good.
Normally I do that.
I know.
Okay.
You guys are, forgot.
We were waiting.
I wanted to do one this year.
Oh, okay, that's fine. You just
Any questions or comments?
threw me for a loop.
Being none, call roll, please.
Mr. Duke?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Duke? Mr. Lauder?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Kleepass?
Yes.
Mayor Patterson?
Yes. Moving on to proclamations and presentations. We have none this evening. Public hearings, we have none. Public comment on legislation. Anyone wishing to speak before council with comments or new information about legislation on tonight's agenda may do so at this time. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Speakers must state their name and address. Comments should be addressed to council. If you have comments that are not about the legislation on tonight's agenda, there will be an opportunity for those to be heard later in the meeting.
My name is Sterling Abernathy. I have comments on agenda items 2 and 8. They're resolutions to increase budget spending in 2021 for the Rosewood Arts Center renovation project. The amount of this year's increase is $708,000. That's a 42% increase. The resolution includes a reason for the increase. Quote, "It became prudent and necessary to include in the first phase work originally planned for future phases, e.g. a complete fire alarm system and renovation of the main restrooms, which resulted in a cost increase for the first phase." End quote. So the resolution says that work planned for later years is being moved forward to this year. The problem is that city records indicate the original cost for the work being moved forward to this year totals $340,000. That's a lot less than the $708,000 increase in this resolution. As it stands, the reason stated in the resolution is misleading at best and deceptive at worst. The resolution should be corrected before approving it tonight. Or better yet, how about reducing the scope of the project to save money rather than automatically approving cost increases? Let's look at the overall Rosewood project costs, not just this year. The project is budgeted over 4 years, starting with design costs in 2020, plus 3 more years of construction. In January 2020, you were told that the total project cost was $5 million. That included $4.3 million for design and construction and $700,000 for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. 2 weeks ago in the council workshop, we learned that the total Rosewood project cost for all years is now $6.4 million. The increase from $5 million to $6.4 million is due to additional construction costs of $873,000 and an increase in furniture, fixtures, and equipment of $500,000. Even after reductions by a grant from the state and private donations, Kettering taxpayers will still be on the hook for $4.7 million for Rosewood. All this for Rosewood, an arts facility for which half the people who use it do not live, work, or pay taxes in the city of Kettering. The $4.7 million is an overall cost increase of $873,000 for Kettering taxpayers. It's a 23% increase in just 18 months since council first approved design spending. These increases come before construction has even started. We know from the history of city projects that Rosewood costs on Kettering taxpayers are likely to be even larger by the time the project is completed. In summary, first, put the real reasons for the 2021 spending increase in tonight's resolution. Second, stop increasing the millions of dollars Kettering taxpayers are paying to renovate an arts facility that half the people who use it do not live, work, or pay taxes in the city. I have a handout for you that summarizes the cost increases. Thank you.
Anyone else like to come speak before council this evening? Being none, we'll move on to ordinances in second reading. We have none, so we'll start with resolutions. Vice Mayor Kleepass.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution this evening authorizing the city manager to apply for and accept on behalf of the Kettering Municipal Court Justice Reinvestment Incentive Grant funds from the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. The estimated cost is $332,600. Amount budget is $0. It's requested by Judge Long and Judge Dressel. I move for its approval.
Second.
Mr. Schwederman.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution would allow us to continue a program that we originally received grant funding for in July of 2015. The anticipated award of $332,600 would fund the probation program from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2023. The grant is administered by the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, and as I mentioned, it funds or provides funding to probation departments and community-based correctional facilities throughout Ohio, with the goal of adopting policies and practices based on the latest research to reduce the number of offenders on probation supervision who violate the conditions of their supervision. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I would like to add there's no city match on this grant.
Any questions of Mr. Schwederman? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Kleepass.
Yes.
Mr. Lauder.
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Duke.
Yes.
Mayor Patterson.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to amend resolution number 10570-21. Estimated cost $2,393,000. The amount budgeted $1,685,000. It's being requested by our engineering department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Schwederman.
Thank you, Your Honor. This item relates to the construction project for the Rosewood Arts Center. As I mentioned at the workshop at our previous council meeting, we're bringing forward tonight a supplemental as well as additional authorization for that project. The original authorization was for $1,685,000 for phase one of the Rosewood project. At the time the phasing was put together, we were not completed yet in the design. After further review, we decided to move items from phase two to phase one. Those items are the restrooms off the lobby of the new facility. That estimated cost was $300,000. At the request of the fire marshal, we're also moving the fire alarm project from phase 2 and 3 to phase 1, estimated cost $40,000. Also, since the original resolution was read, we received the bids on phase 1. The phase 1 bids came in over by $168,000. The overage also ate up or utilized any monies that we had intended for contingencies for phase 1. So I've asked the Public Service Department and the Finance Department to include $200,000 in this request this evening to provide for contingency funding for the Phase 1 of the project. That brings us to the $708,000 appropriation amount for this evening. Essentially, of that, $368,000 is what I will call unanticipated or new funding. $168,000 related to the bids coming in higher than anticipated, and then $200,000 to add a contingency to Phase 1. We have also amended our plan for Phase 2 and Phase 3 that will be appropriated in 2022 through 2024. I've amended those estimates to also include contingency funding of $100,000 for Phase 2 and $120,000 for Phase 3. That brings the total project cost for the bidded contracts to be at $4,858,000. We will also have furniture, fixture, and equipment for the project. That amount of money will be determined by the amount of funds raised by the Kettering Parks Foundation for this project. Your Honor, I believe that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Sweeterman? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Lauder?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Duke?
Yes.
Mr. Kleipas?
Yes.
Mayor Patterson?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an economic development incentive grant agreement with Resonetics LLC. The estimated cost is $200,000, and that will be the amount budgeted in future years, and it is requested by the city manager's office, and I move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Shrimp?
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. This resolution would allow the city manager to enter into an economic development incentive grant agreement with Resonetics. Resonetics will expand its current facility at 2941 College Drive in Miami Valley Research Park by 20,000 square feet. Resonetics will retain approximately 147 full-time equivalent positions with a total payroll of approximately $8.5 million. It's anticipated that Resonetics will add approximately 100 full-time employees over the next 5 years. The amount of the incentive grant is based on the city payroll withholdings from the Resonetics employees. This grant period is 5 years and shall not exceed $200,000. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions of Ms. Shrimp? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Duke?
Yes.
Mr. Kleipas?
Yes.
Mr. Lauder?
Yes.
Mayor Patterson?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for repair of water slides at the Adventure Reef Water Park. Estimated cost is $30,740. It is budgeted, requested by the Public Service Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Sweeterman?
Thank you, Your Honor. During the maintenance of the water slides prior to the opening of the water park, the Parks and Rec Department and our Public Service Department determined that one of the slides would need some significant maintenance. Some temporary maintenance was done so that we could open the water park and use the slides, but at the end of the season, we will need some more significant repair to one of the slides. The estimated cost is $30,740. It will be funded out of existing capital improvement funds from savings on other projects. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Sweeterman? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Duke?
Yes.
Mr. Kleipas?
Yes.
Mr. Lauder?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Patterson?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept shuttered venues grant funds from the United States Small Business Administration. The estimated cost is $2,029,912.66. Amount budgeted is zero. It's requested by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Sweeterman?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are very pleased to inform you that we have received notification that we have been awarded funding under the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant. The award will be $2,029,913. The amount is determined based upon our expenditures at the Fraze Pavilion anticipated for through December 31st, 2021. This is an operating grant, so the funds can be utilized for the operation of the Fraze Pavilion. To put it in budget terms, the money goes into the Fraze Fund. and will stay there and essentially will be earned as we incur expenditures through 12/31/21. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Sweeterman? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Kleipas,
Yes.
Mr. Lauder,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Duke,
Yes.
Mayor Patterson.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit an application to the Ohio Department of Transportation's Municipal Bridge Program for funding of the West Avenue Bridge Project, City Project 03-948. It's being recommended by our engineering department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution will allow the city to apply for funds through ODOT's Municipal Bridge Program for the rehabilitation of the West Avenue Bridge in the Wiles Creek neighborhood. We are required by law to annually inspect all of our bridges that we own and maintain. This one was recently inspected. The inspectors found some advanced deterioration in the east side of the bridge, severe enough that we had to close the east side of the bridge and reroute traffic onto the west side. We are currently evaluating options for its rehabilitation. Those options will be condensed into the municipal bridge application, and we will submit that later in August for funding. If funding is approved, the calendar year for replacement would be the 2024-2025 horizon. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Bergstresser? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Lauder,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Duke,
Yes.
Mr. Kleipas,
Yes.
Mayor Patterson.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to declare the necessity and intention of acquiring property interest in Project Parcel 13WD of Kettering Traffic Signal Replacements. It's Phase 3 project, City Project Number 02-005D, ODOT Project MOT-Kettering Signals, Phase 3, PID number 105950. It is estimated cost of $300 with an amount budgeted of $25,000 for all of the project property acquisitions, and it is requested by the engineering department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a property acquisition for an upcoming traffic signal replacement project that will begin next year. This is one small parcel that is required for the installation of a new traffic signal pole. We are working with the property owner to acquire this property. However, there are some existing property tax liens that are unlikely to be resolved in time to keep the project on schedule. If necessary, to keep the project on schedule, we will initiate appropriation proceedings for this small parcel. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Bergstresser? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Duke?
Yes.
Mr. Kleipas?
Yes.
Mr. Lauder,
Yes.
Mayor Patterson.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Kettering, State of Ohio during fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, specifically from the Special Grants and Programs Fund, $2,362,512.66, and from the Capital Improvement Fund for Parks and Recreation, $708,000. Estimated cost, $3,070,512.66. Net transfer, amount budgeted $0, requested by the Finance Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Sweeterman.
Thank you, Your Honor. This resolution would approve a 2021 supplemental appropriation. Would appropriate monies that have been discussed in previous resolutions this evening. The first being for special grants for the shuttered venue grant for the Fraze Pavilion at essentially $2,029,000. Also would appropriate the funds from the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation grant in $332,600. And then the Rosewood Project Capital Improvement Fund amount of $708,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Sweeterman? Being none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Duke?
Yes.
Mr. Kleipas?
Yes.
Mr. Lauder,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Patterson.
Yes. Next, we'll move on to ordinances in first reading. Whose turn is it? Mr. Tony.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have an ordinance in first reading this evening vacating a portion of Wilmington Pike right-of-way abutting Lot 1 of the Brownlee Corner Record Plan It's requested by the Planning and Development Department. First reading.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This ordinance in first reading is to authorize the vacation of a portion of unneeded public right-of-way at the northeast corner of Wilmington Pike and Brownlee Road. The city wishes to correct the right-of-way line, making it consistent on the east side of Wilmington Pike. The proposed vacation would allow staff to work with the adjacent property owner to sell the city-owned parcel. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Bergstresser? Next, we'll move on to certifications and petitions. Ms. Kozinski.
Your Honor, we do not have any certifications or petitions this evening.
Thank you. City Manager Report and Community Update. Mr. Schwederman.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have a few slides for you this evening. The first slide relates to our police department and the service of vacation house checks. So if you would like us to check your house while you're on vacation, you can go to our website at ketteringoh.org/vacation house checks or call our police department and they can get you scheduled for that. The freight season continues this week. We have a number of events throughout the month of August and into early September. Get the Let Out will be on Wednesday the 18th, Uncle Cracker on August the 20th, and Gladys Night on August the 22nd. Folks can purchase tickets to for Fray's Pavilion events at frays.com or etix.com, as well as the phone number on your screen. We will have a Parks and Recreation program, Movie Under the Stars, on Saturday, July 31st at 8 p.m. at Delco Park. You can stay abreast of that situation by tuning into the Kettering Facebook page or the Parks and Recreation Play Kettering website. The police department will be participating in National Night Out this coming Tuesday, August the 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. This year's event will be back here at the Government Center Complex at 3600 Schroyer Road in the area behind our police department. Once again, we have the slide here from the United Way and the assistance for rent, and you can call 211. Help link 211 for that assistance. And again, that information is available also at the city manager's office at 296-2412. The Optimus Kids Day in the Park program will take place on Saturday, October 7th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Delco Park. This is a long-standing activity, and I felt obligated to mention it. Your Honor, that's all I have for you this evening.
Another Optimus project. They seem to be happening all the time.
You're out of order.
3-on-1.
Thank you, Mr. Schwederman. Moving on to other business, audience participation, point in program. If you'd like to come speak for council, please come on down. We do ask you that you limit to 5 minutes, and we need your name and address. Anyone like to speak? All right, we'll move on to council reports. Begin with Vice Mayor Klepass.
Thank you, Your Honor. One thing the manager didn't mention about events coming up in August is the annual Sister Cities event, Spasnak. It's going to be on Thursday, August the 26th at Lincoln Park Commons. This is the annual fundraiser put on by the volunteers that belong to the Kettering Sister Cities to raise money for the youth exchange program with our sister city, Steyr, Austria. This event has formerly been in July, but it's rained so much, not because of COVID, but because of the rain, we've moved it to August 26th. So we look forward to an evening of Spasnak and hope you all can attend. I'll probably remind you again in a couple of weeks. Second thing I wanted to mention was congratulations to our own council member, Jackie Fisher. She retired last Friday from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base after a long career there. We thank her for her service to our country, and we look forward to more service with the city of Kettering. And lastly, as always, get out there and shop Kettering. It's even more important now with the way things are going in our country and our region to shop our local business. That's all I have.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lauder.
Your Honor, I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Ms. Fisher.
No report, sir.
Mr. Duke.
No report, Your Honor, but I just feel the need to make a comment. We had a resident speak a few minutes ago regarding a Rosewood project, and we have some folks in the audience and some folks at home that watch these meetings. The resident that spoke left before the vote, so I would speak directly to him, but he's gone. But I just want to make sure the public knows and the folks in our audience know that particularly in this project, and as in all projects, this council has worked for, I don't know, Rosewood project several years of workshops, of meetings, of planning, of truly going over every square inch of that facility, as we do with all of our projects. And certainly a resident is entitled to not be in favor of a project, and that's fine. But I just want to make it clear that to our community that we really work hard on these things, and we understand why we move the funds around the way we do, because it saves our taxpayers dollars in the long run. So that's all I wanted to say, Your Honor. I just felt the need to share that. Thanks.
Thank you. Just a couple things. On July the 19th, I had the opportunity to participate in the Girl Scouts Twilight Camp. It was great. It was for 5-year-olds through 5th grade. And it was coupled with that night of Olympics. And there was probably 30 Girl Scouts there, and it was refreshing to see. They started off the meeting by the presenting of the colors. Then they had another young girl. She must have been 6, 7 years old. She led the Pledge of Allegiance, and they all put their hand on their heart and said, "I pledge allegiance." And then they did the Girl Scout oath. And then I spoke, and I reminded them that the things that they had said in their Girl Scout oath, that they can carry those forward in life. And a lot had to do with helping people and doing things and being honest and things like that. So it was great to get out to do some of those things again. There was moms and dads were standing around and everything else. So it was a fun night out. Also, we talked about Frey's opening up. Went to my first concert, Styx and Night Ranger, the other Saturday night. What night was it, Mark? Friday, you were there. I'll tell you what, it was nice just to sit there and look around and see that venue full. And people were having a good time. They were dancing. They were singing. I did realize, though, that I'm getting older, because these now are more tribute bands than they are actual bands. I think Styx had one original member of the band that was there, and so while I enjoyed the music and everything, but I have to realize they're becoming more and more tribute type bands that I'm watching. So finally, our finance department received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. It's given out by the Government Finance Officers Association, and congratulations to the Finance Department for all their hard work and the things they do to take care of us as a community and our residents and our budget as a whole. So thank them for that. Now, our next regularly scheduled meeting will be August the 10th, and with that, we stand adjourned.
Chief, I wanted to thank you for the tour, but I didn't know if we should, because you're doing